Now that 2025 has come to an end and we are officially in 2026, I am so excited to share my full reading wrap up. I read 45 books in 2025, and of those, I have 8 top favorites, 3 rereads that lived up to the hype, and 5 disappointments. Let's get into it. I'm going to go in the order that I read them. So starting with last January, I read Beautiful Chaos by Jessica Urlichs. This is a collection on the beautiful paradox that is motherhood. It felt like a love letter to motherhood, as well as a hug for the hard parts that come with it, all wrapped up into one beautiful collection. Warning, have tissues when you're reading this book. Have a lot of tissues. I read The Nightingale in March with my local book club, and holy smokes, does it live up to the hype. It follows 2 sisters in France during World War II. One of the sisters is just trying to quietly survive what's happening, while the other one chooses to resist in the ways that she can. And it shows the war from the perspective of everyday people, especially women, which I personally have not really experienced much. I have never cried so hard while reading a book. I was weeping, like inconsolable, couldn't even keep reading because my tears I couldn't see. And it really made me reflect on my everyday life with gratitude. Like, this is a big book and it's heavy. So going about my everyday life with this in the background of my mind was really impactful for me. Okay, hard pivot from the emotional devastation that was The Nightingale to one of my most unexpected reads of the year, The Favorites by Layne Fargo. It follows 2 Olympic ice skaters with a complicated history, I'll say, and it's structured through both the narrative of the book and these documentary style interviews. So you're constantly seeing the difference between their personal experience and the way that the public perceived them. I love character driven books, and this book is character development done right, like crazy good. Every single character felt flawed, felt real, felt fully formed. Even the side characters, like there's a lot of teeny tiny side characters, and even they are fully fleshed out. I found that in things like this, characters can sometimes feel like caricatures of real people, like they're just kind of one personality trait. But even these small side characters giving an interview for this documentary felt fully fleshed out. I could not stop thinking about this book. 3 Days in June was a quiet standout for me. I love how concise and intentional the writing was. Every single word felt purposeful, which I just really appreciate in a book. I know it's hard to do. It is set over the course of 3 days as a mother navigates all of the complicated relationships in her life over the weekend of her daughter's wedding. It is very dialogue heavy with an unreliable narrator, so you're piecing things together as you go, which made it really engaging. This actually got me on a literary fiction kick for the rest of the year, which is usually not my thing, but I was eating up this year. 2025 was the year of lit fic for me. The Road to Tender Hearts. This might be my #1 book of 2025. It reminds me a lot of Frederick Bachman's writing, where he talks about very serious things, but in a way that really balances a sense of humor and a sense of respect and dignity. It follows PJ, who is 60 something and just a hot mess. He decides to embark, it's just so ridiculous. He decides to embark on a cross-country road trip to woo his high school crush after he finds out that her husband passed away. With him on this journey are his grown daughter, who he has a strained relationship with, his estranged brother's grandchildren, who he is now, surprise, the guardian of, and a cat who can predict death. It sounds so ridiculous saying what it's about out loud, but it was such a heartwarming book. It's tender, it's funny, it's slightly absurd, and somehow grounded all at the same time. Okay, Summer Fridays gave me the most complicated feelings of the year. I seriously need more people to read this because I need to discuss, I need to process what the heck this is. Out of context, it's gorgeous. The romance, the yearning, the fun dates they go on, the atmosphere. In context, they're cheating. It's a cheating trope and a bunch of miscommunication tropes. So that was infuriating. But I had such strong reactions to almost everything in this book, positive and negative, just like very strong reactions, which means that the writing and the character work was just incredibly effective. Like when a book makes you feel things like this, like that's a good book. I didn't agree with their choices, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, this book is still haunting me, and I read it in July. So yeah, read it. Let's discuss. If anyone has read this book, please let us discuss in the comments. Summer Fridays got me all worked up. I gotta drink my tea. All right, what's next? I mean, what can I say that I haven't already said about this book? The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Hobbit was such a pleasant, slow-paced, cozy adventure. It follows a hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, who loves coziness and routine until Gandalf and a group of dwarves drag him off on an adventure that he very much did not ask for. I will say, I listened to a lot of this on audiobook, which was excellent. Andy Serkis does it. He's the voice of Gollum. But I gotta say, the chapter with Gollum in the ring gave me the heebie-jeebies, though. I was listening to it on audiobook, minding my own business, doing some dishes with my noise-canceling headphones, and all of a sudden I have Gollum's voice just breathing in my ear, like in my inner ear. I was not a fan of that. This was probably my most surprising book of the year, If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. Anything with cartoon people on it, even a cover as beautiful as this, gives me pause because you just never know what you're gonna get, you know? This is a romance, but a lot of aspects to it felt like literary fiction meets romance, which I really liked. It's about this woman named Michelle. She's very type A, and she temporarily takes over her late mother's bed and breakfast. And next door is Cliff, a single dad with 2 daughters. You do the math. Even at 500 pages, which I know a lot of people comment on, nothing felt unnecessary, and I think added to that literary feel. And I loved how healthy and self-aware the relationships were. All the characters were very lovable. This was an easy 5 stars for me. Before I get into my disappointments, I want to briefly talk about the books that I reread this year. I reread Fourth Wing last January in preparation for Onyx Storm, of course. And you know what? I still loved it. It lived up to my own hype for sure. It still gave me that feeling of reading when I was younger, that all-consuming, can't put it down, constantly thinking about it. On the reread, I caught so many clues and details, and I was brainstorming theories. It was so fun. Rereading Book Lovers by Emily Henry actually bumped this to number 2 of my personal Emily Henry book ranking. This plays with familiar romance tropes, specifically the idea of the villain workaholic woman, and it gives that character her own love story. Like all Emily Henry books, it's layered with family dynamics and personal growth, and I ended up loving it even more on this reread than the first read. It makes me want to reread all of Emily Henry books. She's one of my all-time favorite authors. Assistant to the Villain, when I read this for the first time, I was shocked at how much I loved it. It's not really like anything I'd read before. It's whimsical, it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's cheeky. It's a perfect palate cleanser, I want to live in this world type of book. It gives chaotic Tangled. That's the best way I could describe it. It follows Evie, who becomes the assistant to the local villain of their kingdom. She is this accident-prone, ultra-bubbly woman with this dark side that pops up here and there. I thought it was going to be a trilogy, hence the reread, but turns out there's going to be 4, so I'm looking forward to seeing how she concludes this story. It makes me laugh. It's just a silly, goofy time. All right, on to my biggest disappointments of 2025. I want to preface this by saying that none of these books are bad. They're just not my cup of tea. Like, I went in with certain expectations and came out disappointed. It's the best way I could say it. For the sake of switching things up and not completely dragging these books, I'm going to describe my experience with each book in 1 sentence. Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Creepy setting, which was fun, but the rest of it was just like, why? Good Material by Dolly Alderton. Thank God the writing was impeccable because she is writing the screenplay of the new Pride and Prejudice, but I didn't care for the plot or the characters. All That Life Can Afford by Emily Everett. There were some fun literary tie-ins and atmospheric writing, but everything else fell flat. Swan Song by Ellen Hildebrand. I honestly remember very little about Swan Song, which kind of says it all, I think. The Intruder by Frida McFadden. I kept thinking, why should I care? And then it abruptly ended right as things should have gotten interesting. Anyway, this was so fun to put together. I was actually surprised at my thoughts now that some time has passed. Some 4-star reads ended up having the most lasting impression on me, and some 5-star reads I hadn't even thought of again. One of my 2026 bookish goals is to create a more objective ranking system. And this really solidified why I should do that, because I'm like, I just do it on my heart. I'm like, how do I feel? 3 stars, 4 stars. I don't want to get too perfectionistic about it, but I would like to have a little bit more structure in why am I rating it, what I'm rating it. If it's not obvious, I love talking about books. So please let me know your best and worst books of 2025 as I contemplate my 2026 TBR. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.